Hello everyone, Violet here, and today we're going to talk about developing your sense of will, your sense of inner motivation. And developing this sense of inner motivation will really help you in going towards what it is you feel most called, the fire, the drive to do, the purpose to do in this world. And it's also a really important recognition of our free will. So we descend from the spiritual planes into material matter in order to experience this kind of harsh separation, really, between, me and you. We are separate bodies, and we feel that separation so intensely. And the reason is so that we can develop free will, which is also the other side of the coin to love. You can't really experience love unless you have that free will of the separation of me versus you, and then choosing to bridge that gap with love. So that free will and that individuality that we develop here, we will then bring back into the spiritual world, back into unity without discarding our individuality, but perhaps discarding the more so the self-centered, egoic nature. And recognizing that free will as we do approach the spiritual worlds and the spiritual planes is really important, as well as, of course, as we go through our lives and we make the decisions that we do. So I'm going to give you today a daily exercise that's really, really helpful in developing this sense of free will and the sense of inner motivation. And this is actually the second essential exercise. This corresponds with the second essential exercise within anthroposophy. And we just did a video, if you want to check it out, on the first exercise, which has to do with meditation. So this is a really wonderful exercise to add on once you've, developed a meditation practice, or, really explored this idea of free thinking, because freeing your thoughts before then freeing your will seems like a good order to do things, sort of like a think before you act. But anyway, if you want to check out that exercise, I was recommending there to practice that for a month. Then you add this one on. This becomes the main focus, and you continue your meditation practice with this one. So you don't let the benefits of that slide away, but you keep that up, and now this one takes priority. And with this exercise, I want you to take a moment and just acknowledge how much of life runs us. How many decisions and how many, expectations and obligations and responsibilities and things are coming in from the outside and kind of dictating to you when and how you should do things. With this exercise, you are going to be deciding instead what is something that I want to do myself. There's no one who is telling me to do this. There's no one who's keeping me accountable. There's no one that's expecting anything of this than me, other than myself. And choose something small. A daily, maybe even mundane action that you commit to yourself. I'm going to do this. And then each day you do it at the same time, and you build up that trust with yourself, and you build up that feeling of will. And like I said, this can be like something very small. Perhaps it's like, I'm going to set my desk in order after I do my work. I'm going to rinse the tea kettle, or I'm going to step out on the porch for a moment and take 5 breaths. Whatever it is, but let it come from you. And then after you've practiced that action, you can add another one. And you can add another one. And you can kind of work with this throughout, a month or so, and see what it is that you create for yourself, and see how much you can build that trust with yourself and get to know that feeling of will, that feeling of inner motivation that brings you to do that. So that subtle feeling of inner motivation, you're going to really get to know it, have a relationship with it, and then pour that feeling, when you've identified it, into your body, like through your head and into your heart. And I see this as being really important for, developing that free will through the heart. That's that sort of flip side of the coin of, free will is on one side and love is on the other, is, let us do what we will and let us create what we will, and, really get to know our identity through love, not through selfishness, right? So there's a big difference there. I want to emphasize too that this is a task that you wouldn't normally do. So it's not something that's motivated by like the lower centers, or motivated again by like external someone else telling you to do it. But there's kind of a beauty in deciding to do something that is outside of what is, mundane world or the lower desires. And yes, again, it can be a simple and perhaps mundane action, but it's not something that is ruled by the material world. No, it's ruled by your inspiration and motivation to do it. It's ruled by your soul sense of purpose and sense of self. Because the pull of nature pulls downwards versus bringing yourself into higher states of being and connecting to the spiritual worlds, which pulls upwards. Yet you can, do that with inspiration from nature and in a grounded way. So we're not saying, one instead of the other, but it's this act of, I'm not doing everything by this downward pull of the material world, but I'm also acting from higher states. So after you've practiced this, notice how your self-motivation and willpower transforms, and notice how much more you're able to accomplish throughout the day. Not that everything's about, what you accomplish, but in the places where you want it to be. Notice how much you're able to really bring to that, the energy you have to sustain that is perhaps built on this foundation of doing these self-initiated actions every single day. So do let me know what you think of this exercise, how it goes for you, and if it transforms anything in your life and what you feel. And a month from now, we will have a video coming out for the next exercise. There's 6 total, to really be able to safely enter the spiritual worlds, or really begin the conversation on some of the deeper topics. I think that laying this foundation means that we can do so with our own full freedom of thinking and of free will, etc. We'll go on to the other ones and become very centered in what we find to be true for ourselves, which is so important, I think. All right, so I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much.